All right, everybody, aloha. And then you guys, let's get the chairs off the stage. Gentlemen, chairs off the stage. Thanks. Guys, hey everybody. So, what are you guys gathering from all of these panels? Bitcoin is spreading like lightning all around the world. So, I just want to make a quick announcement. The solution stage and the workshops are going to be open right now. They're starting to open up. And how exciting, all of these circular economies coming in. People are just taking the ball and running with it. Our next guest is the author of The Christian Case for Bitcoin and the Philosophy of Bitcoin and Religion. And he is the pleb in charge of Bitcoin Lake, Guatemala. And he was one of my first guests on my podcast, Bitcoin, Peace, and Music. So thank you so much, Patrick Melder. Let's give him a great round of applause. Woohoo!
All right. Thanks, Valerie. I love Valerie, and when I see her post on Twitter, it always puts a smile on my face. So I'm here to talk to you about our project in Guatemala, Lago Bitcoin, or Bitcoin Lake. And I think what I'm going to be talking about is going to validate or stress a lot what started with Mike about these circular economies. And this is actually, I have 10 minutes? I thought I had 20 minutes. Okay, I'm just going to go. All right. So anyway, our work in Guatemala is, if you don't know where Guatemala is, which hopefully most of you do, we're right next door to El Salvador. Where our work is, we are in the western highlands of Guatemala, due west of Guatemala City, and Panajachel sits on the northeast corner of Lake Atitlan. And the town of Panajachel, to give you kind of a sense of how the demographics, it's about 18,000 people in the town. There are about 300,000 people that live around the lake itself, and it's a major tourist destination. You can walk down the street in the major shopping street, and you can hear multiple languages all at the same time. It's in a heavily indigenous Mayan area in Guatemala, and if you get up higher up into the mountains, a lot of the indigenous population don't even speak Spanish. So who am I? I'm a ear, nose, and throat surgeon, retired, and I'm also a serial entrepreneur. I first learned about Bitcoin in 2013, purchased it in 2018, but didn't really go down the rabbit hole until late 2020 and early 2021. And as Valerie mentioned, I've written 2 books, and part of that was from my Christian worldview, just trying to wrestle and merge together the ethos of Bitcoin. And from that, I started a podcast and wrote 2 books. And as I was conceiving of what I wanted Bitcoin Lake to be, I really wanted to demonstrate what Bitcoin could do. It's one thing to kind of create a circular economy, but we all believe that Bitcoin can fix this. I really wanted to demonstrate that Bitcoin could indeed fix things, and you'll see that as part of the project. And why Guatemala? Well, from 2012 to 2018, my family and I would travel down to Guatemala every summer. We did art camps at Centro Educativo Josue. And if my team's here, can you guys just go ahead and make your way on over here, please? And this is Nancy Cifuentes, who's right over here, and she owns the school, and we would work there in the school. We'd also go up into the highlands and work with the indigenous Mayan population, and that's my family on the left. And we fell in love with Guatemala, Guatemalans, and Lake Atitlan, and it's obvious why you can fall in love with a place like this. The natural beauty is just absolutely stunning. Lake Atitlan is one of the top 10 most beautiful lakes in the world, but it has a problem that we'll talk about. And these are unedited photos, just a completely gorgeous place, and accommodations from 1-star hostels all the way up to 5-star hotels where you can actually get a helicopter to land at the helipad. Really beautiful area. If you want to drink coffee straight from the plantation or the estate, you can do that across the lake in Santiago de Atitlan. And the one thing about this area of Guatemala, because it's in the Mayan regions, you get this rich culture of Mayan people, and it just grabs you by the heart. And this is typical artwork of the Mayan people or the Mayan culture. And in our experience working as a family, and I think whether it's coming from a Christian worldview or just humanitarian work in general, one thing that you want to always try to do is provide economic opportunity without dependence. And as Mike mentioned before, Bitcoin is a tool. We were working with different tools in the community. You could put Bitcoin on the ground or a wrench on the ground, but unless you have the means or the might or the will to use that tool, you're not going to create lasting change. And Bitcoin for us became that perfect tool. And the roadmap for us, I came here last year to adopting Bitcoin. I was kind of formulating my plan as I prepared to attend the Adopting Bitcoin Summit last year. And then as Mike mentioned, the white paper that was released in July that he just went over several minutes ago, we just released on Twitter our white paper, which is basically a compendium to the Bitcoin Beach white paper, our lessons that we learned, and it follows basically the same format. But if you're planning on starting a project, you really need to look at both of these as a resource so you don't reinvent the wheel and make some of the same mistakes. Our goals at Lago Bitcoin Lake, is to educate. Obviously, we want to build a circular economy, and we introduced mining or validation, Bitcoin mining into the community, and we did that for several reasons. And I'll talk about that specifically. But with education, we work at Nancy's school, and we educate the children on Bitcoin and really all aspects of Bitcoin. So we talk about Bitcoin as a money. We talk about Bitcoin as a technology. We've brought nodes down into Panajachel. In the center tile there, one of the children's helping me assemble an umbral node. We brought a full node. We brought a Bitcoin miner down and installed it at the school. The first time in Central Latin America that a node and or a miner were installed in a school system. We also brought a Bitcoin miner and had it hooked up to the municipality. The first time in the Americas that a Bitcoin miner was hooked up to a municipality. And we've had Bitcoiners from all around the world that have come and helped us. Fabu and his girlfriend Mel are over there, and this is Fabu helping assemble seed signers. And these children have had access to technology, components, and knowledge that a lot of children, even in the States, don't have access to. And what was really cool is when we started doing this, out on Twitter, I would say, hey, we want to buy pizza for these children at the school, and Bitcoiners from all around the world would send sats to some of the pizza shops or the ice cream shops and provide pizzas and ice cream for these children to really demonstrate the power of Bitcoin and what it could do. It was really phenomenal. And as far as our businesses and orange peeling our businesses, it was very hard to begin with. We really had, we started from scratch. I mean, Eleazar and I, Eleazar, raise your hand. He and I began just by literally walking dozens and dozens of miles, knocking on dozens and eventually hundreds of doors, getting a lot of no's. But soon you find someone who wants to accept it. And every merchant has a different need. But I think probably the common need that we found that we could always drill in on is the savings technology of Bitcoin and being your own bank. And I know we've heard that throughout the morning, but it's really critical for us when we were bringing on merchants. The signage, Bitcoin Beach was really helpful in providing monies for us to provide signage and painting. There are 4 establishments now in Panajachel and one across the lake that has painted Lago Bitcoin. And it's critical that if you identify a problem, you've got to fix the problem. When the Bitcoin Beach was first released and when we started using it, it was not denominated in the Quetzal. And Fabu created basically a web-based point-of-sale system that you could use any currency and use it as a point-of-sale system for the merchants. And it was a significant boost for Bitcoin adoption for us. And we provide educational material, and we always go back and educate. You cannot bring on a business and just expect them to do it. You've got to go back and make sure they understand what they're doing and reinforce the values and the savings technology of Bitcoin. Now, one thing that is really, really cool, if you've not seen our viral video using used cooking oil or seed oils running a Bitcoin miner, that's the QR code. And we've had Bitcoin mining experts come down. This is Bill Whitaker handing over a Bitcoin miner to the mayor. And we wanted to demonstrate that using used cooking oil, used miners, and a 30 or 40-year-old diesel engine, we could make Bitcoin. We could mine Bitcoin. And one of the passionate things about this project for me is that We want to use waste, stranded waste or wasted energy, and give some of that back to the community, not in the form of UBI, which is centralized, but in the form of DBI, decentralized basic income, back into the community. And every time I get to talk about my feelings about digital gold, it comes more from a philosophical and historical perspective that in this part of the world, Europeans, Spaniards came and took all the physical gold and took all that wealth back to Europe. And if Bitcoin is digital gold, which I believe it is, if we're going to be using wasted or stranded energy, that gold needs to remain in Central and Latin America. So I'm very passionate about that goal. When you come to Panajachel and Lake Atitlan, this is what you see. When you leave, this is what you see. When you dream of coming back, which you will, this is what you think of. But you don't see this. So this is the solid waste facility, which sits about 600 to 800 feet above Panajachel. This roof has since been repaired, but this is all organic waste, and it's just exposed to the elements. When it rains and gets torrential rains, which El Salvador and Guatemala are very similar, all of this just drains down into the watershed and into the lake. And the solid waste is no different. The inorganic waste is no different. This was taken 3 days ago, and all of that is just waste. And this is waste management in a developing country. You get waste, you put dirt on top of it, you put more waste, you put dirt on top of it, and there's just, you know where this leads. And so part of our effort in our waste to energy project that we're trying to get up and going is to take all of that waste, what I call before the flame technology, and mine Bitcoin with it. This is another wasted resource. These are empty biodigesters. These are multi-thousand liter biodigesters that are empty. They were installed at the cost of hundreds of thousands of US dollars. The person that installed them, or the community leader that installed them, when he left office, the next community leader didn't have the will or the money to connect this to the sewage system. So when we found out about this, we said, stop the show, let's go see this. And I think most of us would recognize that we put organic waste in that, and we've got methane and clean energy for mining Bitcoin. So we're trying to connect this to the sewage system so we can use it for Bitcoin mining. In the upper right-hand corner, you can see a school. It's right next to a school that we want to try to incorporate into our program. And the Bitcoin mining for us in the environment is really important, but as you think about trying to use renewable resources, which there's every available renewable resource around the lake, what we're trying to do is we don't want to spend a lot of money. We don't want to spend money on solar panels or windmills because that's a lot of money. We're trying to find the lowest common denominator and the cheapest source of energy, and there's nothing more cheap than waste that's been thrown out. And the problem sometimes, and especially when I was conceiving of this idea, is you look at, if you have a big problem, you think of a big solution, and when you have a big solution, you think of big money. And we're trying to really kind of reduce the need for that kind of thinking, and that's kind of what the Kaboom Energy Project's all about, is really thinking how you can solve a problem without spending a lot of money. And what have we done? We started in January of this year. This is proof of our work. We've educated children at Nancy's school. We've also started teaching them in English. We have onboarded over 200 businesses in Guatemala proper. In and around the lake, we have pushing about 100 businesses. Our goal was that we wanted to create a Bitcoin tourist destination so that if a Bitcoiner came, they could live on Bitcoin, get around the lake, go across the lake, live there, buy groceries, get a haircut, whatever. So if you come to Panajachel, you can live on Bitcoin. And we also have a radio program in partnership with Mario Lopez and Cesar Sanchez out of Guatemala City, inspired by our work. So Guatemalans for all over the country, this is the most powerful radio station in the country. They can learn about Bitcoin, so it's not a podcast. You don't have to go find it. And we've initiated our Bitcoin mining, but that's going to take a lot of work. As far as where we want to be, we want to expand our education. We want to expand Nancy's school. We definitely have a need there, and we want to include a Bitcoin lab a 3D printer lab. We're about to take 3D printers this week as we take our team back to Guatemala. And we'd love to have Bitcoiners come and teach code at Bitcoin Lake to our children and give them a new skill set and hope for the future. As far as the businesses, obviously, we want to expand our business presence. And to be quite frank with you, we want to be the second Mecca for Bitcoin tourists to come to Guatemala and see the wonderful country of Guatemala and see the work that we've done. And we want to attract Bitcoin investment to the area. If you have any interest in looking at what we're trying to do with Bitcoin mining and our waste to energy before the flame technology, this is our executive summary. You can download that. This is not a project that we're not the owner of this company. We're just a minority owner. We've got entrepreneurs that are part of this, but the company is a Guatemalan company, Bioenergy Technology Corporation. A little clever there. And but right now we have massive amounts of clean energy that we can tap into, and the reason for that is by mandate, the Guatemalan government is trying to get companies to reduce their CO2 footprint, and so they do that just enough to meet the government mandate, and they generate excess energy that we can plug miners into right now. And so last year, I was sitting where you are. Now I'm up here. I had a vision. I wanted to implement it. I could not have done it without my team, from Eric Gonzalez, Eleazar, Nancy, Jim. I've got Fabu over here, and Mel, and Herson Martinez as well. It really is about the team. I just had an idea, and we need your help. Come to Guatemala, help us bring hope to Guatemala and hope for the future. Thanks so much. Oh, one more thing. I like to rib the Bitcoin Beach guys. I'm taking this photo from about 3,000 feet above Panachel. You can surf at Bitcoin Beach, but you can fly at Bitcoin Lake, so come to Panachel.